Alright, since I'm struggling with the games to pick to play, I stumbled upon a game called Dispatch. And man, this game is one of my top 3 games I have ever played. And it became my favorite really quick. Now before we continue, since it's a decision making game and you have to choose a path, please don't spread positive comments just because I chose something and you did not. Okay, I chose this, it was either because of the chapter included, a blonde sexy woman, or because I tried to put myself into a main character's shoes. But the game starts with Robert, aka the guy that we are playing as, talking about his dad, who was a mecha man, and his grandfather. Since they were all superheroes, we try to continue the path and our way to kill Shroud. But before we can do that, we had to interrogate this lovely fella that was hanging from a balcony, and one decision of killing him. Or so we thought, because later on, when we were inside some kind of factory, that guy turned into a green goo with a hanging penis. Thank God for censorship on that, not so on the other things. Inside of a factory, we basically got fucked by Shroud's gang that included villains with superpowers. Now Robert over here somehow survived, but unfortunately he blew up. He went to open a pension and retire from this superhero crap and live like a homeless man, but at least we had an apartment type shit. Since he spent his entire family funds on a suit. Yes, he came from a rich family, but since now he's an orphan and had no job, no bitches, no money, he did the right thing. Tried to stop 5 criminals with a broken arm, with a powerful punch. But all of a sudden this blonde chick came and saved the day, named the Blonde Blazer. And I gotta say, from the moment on, I started to think maybe the blondes could be my type after all. So they went inside of a bar, grabbed a few drinks, talk about superhero stuff and how she had a job for us and so on. Of course she flirted, we flirted back. Now I was a bit skeptical since usually that's how interaction goes. And then they ghost you or have boyfriends and kids or a husband or whatever. But for now we will just play her game. Now some child tried to give us trouble, but he slipped on a drink and knocked himself out. The greatest superhero landing I've ever seen. As the day was ending, Robert and Blonde Blazer decided to have more drinks, and she picked him up and flew themselves to a sign where she gave us some meta AI special glasses, and this is what majority of the game will look like. We would control the heroes that will have super abilities but also attributes. Some are more logical, some are faster and so on. So we just had to choose which to send where, solo or together. Now of course, since Robert was in a bit of a shithole, this chick really tried to save him and he accepted the job. Working as a call operator for SMB, what I didn't knew was that being ripped as him would get you women, even the ones that can become invisible. Fuck man, why does this not work for me, honestly? What is wrong? But before our ship started, we went to take a leak and met this guy named RØDE. Of course, we bro-fisted him while our dicks were out, but he seemed like a nice dude. And while Blondie was showing us through the building, we met our old partner in crime, Chase. You know when you are working and you are like 20 years old but have the best vibes with some 40 or 50 year old? Yeah, that's Chase basically. The guy who was old as fuck, but he was the funniest of them all. Now our ship has begun and we got our set of villains that we tried turning into good guys. The first shift went relatively well until this Invisigal went to a donut store, and let's just say the aftermath of it was explosion and the owner of the business in a hospital. Of course, we had a conversation with Blondie about Z-Team and how it's going to be needed to be approached differently if it was going to be something good out of it. But we are going to leave it for another day. As we both headed out, we decided to take a shot. And let's just say it fucking backfired. Yes, Blonde Blazer had a boyfriend who was calling us small the whole ass time and tried to invite us for a dinner. Of course, we rejected it just so we can hear the next day some amazing good news. We moved into a new apartment, the mecha suit was beginning to be built by RØDE and us. Brought our dog on a job site so Chase can take care of him, and Blondie told us she actually broke up with her boyfriend. Crazy how things could happen so fast before our shift even started, since our second day was the worst ever. Sonar got cuffed inside of a gym because he wanted to see some boobs, then this bitch Invisigal basically interrupting our teammates to the point where I was even pissed IRL. So we organized a meeting and said some things to motivate people. just so in the end we could have a pep talk with her and her issues and how she sees herself as a villain and so on. But at least she stopped a villain by our help of hacking and got the points on board just enough, so we had to choose between firing Coop or Sonar. I chose Sonar since his ability wasn't good for me, so I stuck with Coop. Of course, Sonar got paced a bit and left, but the next day started a bit on a wet side, if you know what I mean. On the news, Phenomenon was depressed and heartbroken. The suit was still in the work and Blonde Blazer looked, well, let's just say maybe blondes really did start to get into my head. She encouraged us to talk to her ex, and that's what we did. What started to annoy me is this invisible bitch started to get too close to us while she knew we had a thing with Blonde Blazer, to the point where she even said to us that she had dreams about us and getting way too close. But I get it, some people do have a way of giving her chances and trying to fix her. Malvola was pissed and just refused to cooperate in any activity, but later on she got a grip and started doing the hero work. While we were on a break, Blondie suggested that we should hire Phenomenon as a part of our team, and honestly abuse the shit out of him since he can fly, rest quickly, but if we fail, he becomes depressed. What also sucks is he got depressed randomly because of Blonde Blazer herself. The shift ended relatively well with 8 successful calls and 2 failures, and I started to get a hang of things. And we had a pep talk with Phenomenon about not being attached to Blondie since we wanted to crack, plus she broke up with him. Now this is the moment that broke the game into 2 fan bases. Team Chick that needs fixing and Team Blondie that we stay loyal to. I chose Blondie since she is honestly the best female character apart from Lara Croft that I ever seen. Caring, sweet and also superhero, so we chose to go on a dinner with her. And let's just say sometimes a no isn't a no, or should I say maybe it's better to miss sometimes because the ball can come back. If you know, you know. Turns out Blondie was actually named Mandy and she was brunette, but that didn't even matter at this point since she was already a baddie with a personality, so they had great time, and at that point I was so uplifted that this became my second favorite game ever. Now Roberto over here was motivated with this new relationship that they started to go into a gym but couldn't bitch jack shit. And of course the fire chat that got knocked out by sleeping showed off squatting a little bit like 4 or 5 for reps, but that don't count since he's a superhero. But at least we bagged another date with Blondie, and our shift went flawlessly. Now while on a lunch break again, Z-Team had the speculations that we were some kind of superhero before, but of course that was a secret between Blondie, me and Chase. And while working on our mecha, Chase said that to be cautious around them, as well as some speculations about Invisigal. The shift ended and decided to go with the rest of the team to a bar, but not any kind of bar. A bar filled with villains. Golem had to be outside since he was too big, but at least we bought everyone bourbon and gave it to them as well. Man, I wish I had problems like Golem. As well, we had a bar fight and basically beat the shit out of everyone there. And then we grabbed tacos after and had a talk with all of them to build up a friendship. Episode 6 was a bit sad and I would say disappointing, but not in the way you would think. You see, the episode starts by testing out the machine and Robert ended in hospital and Blazer decided to make a move-in party, which happened after the shift ended, and everyone brought a lamp. They had a great time, but they found out that somebody in the warehouse had a real pulse. Now of course on the party we danced with Blondie and everyone else, planning on what to do. Turns out that Chase got a bit drunk and said some hurtful shit to Invisigal, so she dipped and the whole party was destroyed. And that's where Chase and Robert had a bit of old pal talk. You see, Chase was supposed to be young, but because of his superpowers, which is speed, he used it a bit too much and got old too quick. Also turns out Invisibitch was inside of a warehouse, so we helped her track down the pulse by hacking every possible thing, but Shra was 2 steps ahead. Then he dropped a smoke and just got the pulse by aura walking. Now this chick was dying and Chase felt bad, so he did one last thing. He ran to save her ass and Chase fainted. At that time I was in disbelief that he wanted to save her and that we had to wait a whole ass week for last 2 episodes to be released. When they finally came, the game hits us with Robert's and Chase's childhood, and he was actually babysitting us but brought us back to reality. At least Chase was in hospital and Blondie was with us to give us comfort and support. Another day in the office went pretty awesome, but in silence. What was funny to me is that this midget was thrown through the door by the golem and he just brushed it off and came back like nothing happened. But turns out he got thrown out just because they disagreed about kicking out Invisigal out of team. And I gotta be honest, I'm with them. Man, I wish we can sort things out in real life like this. Now, I don't know where the exit of this building is located, but Robert went by the locker room and found out Invisigal changing, and that's where she pressed us against the wall. Now, me personally, I would push her off, but I know Robert wouldn't, so they kinda made out. While drinking our problems away, some old man was next to us and got us a drink for free. And Blondie was on TV. Then the bartender said some shit about cracking her, so we just glassed his head. And turns out that the man next to us was actually Shroud, so we got captured and our love of the life, Blondie, came in clutch and saved Robert's ass. The whole city went to shit and Blazer was going to save it, but Robin wouldn't let her do it by herself, so she dropped us to HQ and she went to do her part. Now, what I love about this episode, even though it's sadly the last one, the map got bigger, and remember the sonar we fired? Yes, he joined Shroud's team and we needed to stop him. As we were doing objectives, yes, some I have failed or missed sadly, we also sent Waterboy as reinforcement, but just when I thought everything was lost, Blondie came in clutch and I was ready to destroy this fucker's ass. And that's what we did. The whole city got into a blackout and everyone rushed to exit. However, Roids and us stayed to see if Chase is still going strong, and the old man was. Royd also found this brat having the right prototype and we used it on our machine and became Mecha Man once again, trying to stop Shroud. Unfortunately, he had some spider suit as well that was hard to counter for us, and Invisibitch was kinda with us at that time, but that was pure out of guilt, and to be honest, we held Shroud on the side and stopped Sonar with Blondie and came back and we managed to destroy his whole ass team. As well as the Blondie disappeared and used the necklace on Chase and he became Ultra Speed Demon and managed to get a hit on Shroud. And that's how we stopped him. Also used a Scorpion get over here attack on his bitch ass, or we thought, because he had our dog, so we gave him a pulse in exchange for our dog. Shroud also spilled on Invisigal and how this whole time she was working for both sides because of money. Told us about cheating on Blondie. Now, Catherine Pierce here would say it's okay to love them both, but what was hilarious is that Invisigal killed Shroud and became a villain herself and gave the pulse back. What I also did not expect is to game kinda say that I have feelings for both. Meanwhile, throughout the whole story, I just basically flirted with Blondie the whole time, but doesn't matter. The whole team celebrated and we had a chat with Mandy, but honestly nothing happened between them. But at least everyone was a team and they took pictures together. This game was one of the best games I ever played and I can't wait for season 2 because we need it. And definitely the endgame results between Mandy and Robert, as well as what's this bitch cooking. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, stay safe and peace.